Hello, this is Brendan, and another episode here of drawing without any purpose or meaning whatsoever. And I have an ambition with this particular, there was a point to this video, as I always do have, but just not as much direction as I'd like to have because I'm kind of busy. So yeah, I'm just gonna draw here while I'm going through some things. This is gonna be turned into a time lapse, so I'm gonna have this version of it and also the time lapse. We are gonna actually do something here. I have a vague idea of what I want to do, and it has to do mostly with color. And there's a female form here, and she is there's a painting I like called it's a Renaissance style painting called Joan of Arc, made by a French painter. And there's what should be or could be Joan of Arc, and she's like standing up on a tree, not on a tree. She's standing next to a tree, I think, or like holding her hand up on a branch. It's that pose I'm trying to recall. You know what might be good is like this. Her hand is holding the branch, and she's looking off into the distance. So the branch could be coming towards us a bit. The tree could be coming down like this. What is really important that I wanted to catch, though, that I was trying to say a moment ago, is the values in this. What I'm doing is a digital painting, and uh, I've seen a lot of work online recently. I don't want to say a lot. Actually, I've seen what I should say to be appropriate. I mean, more accurate is that I've seen little work online recently that has a particular sort of look to it, which is extremely beautiful, and probably, I'd like to see more of it, so I'll try and do it myself, where great attention is paid to values. And that's where the great digital paintings come out, or any painting, is when you really know values. The great thing about digital painting is that you can go over things so easily and play with the colors and stuff so that getting your values right where they need to be won't be as hard. Um, what I mean by value, if you don't know, if you're new to these types of things, is basically the amount of darkness and lightness that is applied to the image itself. And so, as you can see, I started off with a light gray background, which is going to be my base value. So, like if you were to take out all the objects in this in the foreground, the amount of color in the entire scene, the amount of light in the scene is going to be that gray. So it's just, that's the amount of value that we have. And so as things go off into the distance, uh, all of the objects and landscape and everything is going to fade away into that base value color. So it'd be like if you're looking in a fog on a foggy day and you can't see, um, excuse me, and you can't see very well, you can see the things close to you, they're going to have some color. There's going to be some shadow, shade, and light to them. But as you get further away, like it's a really thick fog, even if you get like, a few meters away or a few yards away, then you just can't see anymore. And what you see, what your eye sees in that distance, it's the color of the fog. And so that'll depend on the amount of light. Okay, so let's take that concept, that idea as, the fog idea, foggy day. Take that concept and apply it to just any scene, where you can see where it's a perfectly clear day and visibility, according, as they even say scientifically on the Weather Channel and stuff, and weather reports and forecasts, they actually tell you what the visibility is, and that visibility goes to show you, um, how clear the day is. It's kind of hard to express, I guess. What I'm trying to say is somewhere between a foggy day and a not foggy day, there's still the same phenomenon. Even on a non-foggy day, let's see, I'm getting confused. I need to take this color and go a little bit darker. Yeah, okay. So even on a non-foggy day, there's going to be that fog effect. It's just that it's much further away. So as things get much further away into the distance, you will still see the that all of the objects and everything in the landscape, everything in reality will eventually fade off into that color, that overall light. So if it's a bright and sunshiny day, things fade off into the whiteness or the blue sky. You look at mountain ranges in photos, or even a good piece of art that represents that phenomenon, you'll see that mountains go blue. I've heard it described as color loses its orange as it goes off into the distance. Um, I'm not sure if it's a 100% solid, completed phenomenon that scientifically studied. I'm not sure if they've, finished the research on that. Maybe some people are still trying to figure out exactly what's happening. My theory is basically what I just said, that there's going to be a base value, a certain amount of light that's encompassing everything, and and so this would only apply to landscape too. Now imagine if you're in a dark room and there's just one little candle or a small light bulb, then there's only going to be a certain area of the room that has that light to it. And so, but that doesn't mean there's no value. So the overall base value will be black, and then you'll change your values depending on the light source and how close the objects are to it and stuff like that. So starting off with that, with digital painting, is basically a really good place to start. And of course, you have some kind of concept in mind first of what it is that you want to draw, what you're doing, and some kind of inspiration or something like this. And then uh, after that, start to think of a composition and stuff like that, which is what I'm doing now. I'm kind of like sketching out what it is that I want to do, and then do your values. Start off with what kind of start thinking what is the environment, what kind of day is it? Is it sunny or rainy or something like this? There's a female figure. I got to get my proportions right. Thinking she has a upper body, should have breasts and things, but I'm kind of forgetting about the hips and where the center her body should be. This brush I'm using is way too big. Okay. So this ended up being one of those. What happens a lot of times, I get psyched up to start doing one of these videos and I have all my ideas organized and ready to go and stuff, and then I'll spend a good 15-20 minutes trying to fix audio and recording problems, and I lose a lot of my mojo there. So she can be exaggerated too. It is art, so I can exaggerate her skinniness on the top and have something like that. Going with a slightly darker color here. Um, yeah, it'd be nice if I could show you some examples of what I'm talking about, but I don't have right now available. But maybe by the time this is done, we'll have a time lapse and everything, and you can, you should be able to see what it is that I'm talking about. So here's a feminine form coming out here a bit, and some mistakes I'll just leave in there for the moment. So we're in sketch phase. So the idea with that master's painting, which by the way was something that was on display at the Metropolitan New York Metropolitan Museum of Art. It's not the MoMA, so it's the Metro. It's just the Museum of Art, the main one, the first one, not the modern art, the other one. They call it the Metropolitan Museum of Art, I guess. They call it the Met for short. Um, and she was boyish because she's Joan of Arc, right? Her hair should be like going off into the wind. I don't remember. It was her when she was young, and she was still wearing like regular woman's clothes. She wasn't for her time would be a regular girl, like a maiden almost kind of a look. She wasn't in like a warrior's outfit or something because Joan of Arc, as you probably know, was a war leader, war hero, and something that was obviously unique about her is that she was a girl, which was not common at the time, nor would it be too common now. I mean, we have, I don't want to talk about it. I hate war and fighting and stuff like that. I don't want to make it sound like I care about it or give it any praise or glory whatsoever because it doesn't deserve it. But yeah, there's something to be said for the fact that it was a girl, a female, at a times when that just wasn't expected. And I don't even know if this has anything to do with that original painting with the pose that I'm doing here, but it's just that I vaguely recall uh, her like standing next to a tree. I think her arm was up like this, which kind of really gave it that emotion, that feeling, because the whole point of the painting is that it's called Joan of Arc, and this is not while she was at war. It was probably long before that, but you could see her looking off into the distance, as I'll show here. So she, like, her eyes are pointing off that way, and she'll have some hair or something, and it's blowing in the wind. So she's kind of like looking off into the distance, and since the name of the painting is Joan of Arc, you just obviously get the idea of this is her when she was young and she was planning or thinking about this, but she hadn't gone to war yet. Maybe this was her moment of inspiration, and the painting really does give you that feeling. Aside from the fact that it's just a really, really well done painting, which is why I remember it. It looks like there's a human there standing in front of you. You can feel her flesh and see veins in her hands. That type of, just masterful artwork done at a time when they had crude tools in comparison to what we have now with their brushes and stuff. I don't know exactly when it was, if it was like a 15th century or 19th century painting, but it is what it was. And it just wasn't modern, so obviously not an easy thing to do. So I'm imagining sort of a dress or something here too. But this has nothing to do with Joan of Arc. It's just that feeling of that painting, which I always admired, and combined with some things I've seen recently where I wanted to show some values. Something that's important about it that I have failed to do in my previous digital paintings is, and something I've learned both from advice people online and also just from, admiring other people's work and doing my research and stuff. It it comes out to one simple sentence that is, when you're painting, don't use black. And so that's pretty good advice I came to find. Let's look at how white and color white stands out a lot here. If we have some clouds up here or something, because we before this point we had everything at a grayscale, and so we can use white now on a different layer to bring some things out. But if I'm not using black, the goal is to never use black. Then also maybe I don't want to use white either. I could leave the white in the background like that as an artsy kind of thing for up here. Maybe, one little thing back there. I don't know. There could be something. I'm getting a feeling of like I'm getting a feeling of something, and not sure exactly what it is. I just get a feeling there should be some kind of like a feeling of something back there, depth or space. Maybe it's like lighting far off in the background. But yeah, now that I did that, it also feels way too strong and it goes against the point I was trying to make with this. Okay, so what I'll do, I'm going to use white, but I'll bring the opacity down on it a lot. And like I was saying, if we're not going to use very strong black at any point because it goes against this type of painting style goes against some of what we're trying to achieve here, then it might also make sense to not use a very sharp white unless we're trying to like bring out something, bring out some type of, I don't know what you'd call it, like make the eye focus on a particular area. So some type of like artsy technique. I'm thinking another thing that I noticed in some of these paintings I'm appreciating is random use of shade, which is, well, not so random, I guess, but it's just realistic. For example, there should be shade up here, perhaps, and the light's over there, and just, shade going over, overlapping things in a way like that, which is just basically fun. It's just cool, and it's a bit more realistic. This doesn't look realistic at all at at this point in time. But I'm just using my mind here and saying where should light be, where should shade be, and based on that, come out with a thing or two. But you do get a feeling of depth already with just such simple amount of brush strokes and simple, well, no use of color, simple use of value, white and black here. And then, with that short amount of time, you already get this sense of space and depth and stuff like that. So I'm going to cut this right here because I actually need a break. And this will become all one video at some point, a time-lapse video. But for right now, I'm going to stop this here. That was just the setup phase. It's not really a tutorial or anything. But then we'll see what happens next. In the next video, I will continue this. And I'll start focusing on more items in the scene. This is basically what I call my focus. I might even redo the whole thing. I might, move this stuff in the middle or just completely redo it. This is going to be my central focus. This is a theme of the scene itself. It's going to have to do with the girl looking off and feeling touched or dreaming or something. And then in the background, I'm going to have some type of science fiction or fantasy scenery, which will be suitable for this. Right now, I had her in nature. I had actually thought of having her indoors at first, but yeah, I kind of like the outdoor nature thing too. I'll figure that out next, and we'll see you in the next video.